Hey guys, we're gonna go over some Kindred builds today. A lot of people have been asking me about what should we be building on this champion, and a lot of new builds have been popping up here and there in my videos. And I'm gonna showcase a lot of the builds. There's quite a lot of them. I think there's like 5+, and I hope you guys get to use them in your future games. So first, let's go over shards. So there's two setups. You can either take flat HP or scaling HP. So usually for flat HP, you want to take them if they're very early game focused games and you feel like there's going to be a lot of fighting pre-6 pretty much. And then you got scaling health, which you take when your early game is pretty easy to play and you're just going to get scale for free pretty much. So now let's go into the runes for Kindred. So first we got PTA with Triumph Alacrity, Coup or Cut Down, and you can take it with Inspiration or Domination. And you want to take PTA versus squishy comps. We'll go over Coup and Cut Down after I go over Conquer. And then next we got the Conquer setup, where you take a Triumph Alacrity again, and you can take any of the three options with Inspiration and Domination. And usually you want to take this versus tankier comps, and to me, this is her best scaling rune in the game. And then moving on to the last part of the tree, where you can go Coup, Cut Down, or Last Stands. So you can go Coup versus various squishy comps, and if you're trying to snowball very hard, you take Cut Down versus 3+ HP champions, very high HP champs, and you take Last Stand when they have very high burst and like for team fighting. And with PTA setup, you should never take Last Stand, as your job is to do the highest damage possible, so Last Stand will never fulfill that job, while Coup and Cut Down do fulfill that job, so remember that. So a rune I have been taking a lot is Cashback, and the reason why I take Cashback is when I feel like in games that could be volatile at any point, and I want to buy tier 2 boots potentially, I will take Cashback. So some games I might rush Tabas, or Zerkers, or even like Swifties, and Cashback gold will help me out later on when I'm like trying to get my like pinks later on, or like get extra item components later on. So Domination Tree, I only take this when I'm planning to rush Tabas into like Kha'zix, Graves, or like heavy AD comps, and I take Eyeball to have that extra AD because I'm buying defensive stats, not damage, and Treasure Hunter to help me buy damage items when I do like fight, like kill them, because Kindred does have a lot of good base damage in her kits, especially when you take Conquer doing this setup. And lastly, we got the most consistent rune page of all, Free Boots Kha'zix. You can never go wrong with this page, and you take this in very stable games or in games, I mean, yeah, it's just stable games, and you have Kha'zix inside for your lower smite CD, and you have free boots whenever you got them, pretty much. And now let's go over builds, but let's go over the items before we go into the actual builds, because some of them are like changeable. They're just depending on team comps. So let's go over last Whisper items first. More Reminder is just 5 less AD and armor pen, but it gives Grievous, so whenever you feel like they have any healing, you should always buy the More Reminder. And also remember that like even versus comps that where they don't have that much healing right in their kits, but they are champions that buy like BT, so let's say double A carry comps will most likely buy BT. That can make a difference in your like fighting, like team fighting. Like cutting their healing is actually very useful. And now let's go into the zoo items. So usually I never buy Navori, but I usually buy like Rapid Fire a good amount of time, or PD. Ruinance is only good when they have a lot of like frontline, a lot of short range champions. And then let's just go into boots next. So there's 4 choices. You can go Berserkers, Tabas, Merchas, or Swifties. And as it says, I mean, for most of my games, I will go defensive boots, Tabas, or Merchas, just because Kindred already has a lot of damage based on her items and just her kits. But if you want to go Berserkers, I mean, you're basically full sending it in the game. So meaning like you're just gonna try to 1v9 as hard as possible. Like you want to have the highest stats like you can get. And then for Swifties, it's versus a lot of slows. I usually tend to rush this once in a while, but it's still very flippy to do Swifty boots. So for defensive items, you got these choices. Usually you buy these at these points in the game, as it says. And if you can pause this, the video, just read it real quick. It's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, let's move on to the actual builds now. So first we got the on-hit variation of Kraken Triforce, where you go Cleaver, Wits End, Bork, and you can buy whatever you want afterwards. I mean, I have BT there, but you just buy whatever is good for the game, and this is for games where you just want to be very tanky, but you also want to do a lot of damage. Now we have the tank shredding build, where you go Kraken Cleaver, which is your core, and you will buy items like Wits End and Bork, where you'll just be very tanky and you'll be able to kill any type of like high HP like tanky units. And then you can top off your build with like more tankier items, or you can go like a zoo item. Now we got the good items into crit build. So these items, Crack and Cleaver, are just very good for the game when you do buy them, and then you transition your build into crit, so you're able to completely 1v9 the game later on. And you just buy very strong crit items like IE and the zoo item, and you can go like shield bow or buy BT to just be tankier. And now we got the Crack and Triforce into crit variation build, where yeah, you just buy Crack and Triforce and you buy full crit items. And this build you have to be very rich and you're very like you're snowballing quite hard, so keep that in mind when you're thinking about going that setup. Now the frontline Kindred build, basically you have no frontline and you have to do it yourself, so you build Triforce Cleaver and you just go on hit items to be tankier and be able to do damage. And when you're building Triforce, you should build the axe first or the phage, and sometimes you might rush tier 2 boost with this setup. Now you got the Kraken into crit setup, where you want to have some HP, some like fighting items early, and you don't think it's a good Kraken game, and you just buy Triforce into just full crit items to just 1v9 the game later on, because you're able to finally like do stuff. But yeah, you buy the Triforce early on to allow yourself to survive the early game. And now the standard Kraken crit build, where you still Kraken into full crits. It's pretty basic. Any Kindred player should know this build, and this is the highest ceiling build for this champion. And now the last build, which is a very high tempo build. Basically, you have to drop a nuke, because if you ever fall behind on these items, you will just do no damage. And you go Kraken PD, which will give you 19% movement speed when you buy these items, which is a lot. So that's why I call it a high tempo build. And sometimes you will build LDR third, just in case they just buy any armor, and then you can buy the rest of your high damage items like IE, BT. And it's usually, yeah, like, if you're allowed to go IE third, you go IE, otherwise you go last whisper item into IE into BT, and you are doing infinite amounts of damage. And usually for defensive items, you can build them anytime you want after your core, which could be like Crack and Triforce into tank items, or like you go Triforce into like a Warden's Mail. And one thing you need to know about Kindred, if you buy Merc Shreds with Warden's Mail, you are extremely tanky versus any CC and like magic damage and AD damage. So think about that when like you play the champion, to buy the 1000 gold components with Merc Shreds. So that's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed that video, let me know down in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to watch more educational content. But one last thing before I say my goodbyes completely. If you want to play this champion, also when you look at this clip, this is a Warden's Mail diff clip. It was 2 tanky here, so if you need to rewatch it, rewatch it again. But if you really want to play this champion at the highest ceiling, in my opinion, you should play Kindred the Conqueror, as to me it is her best rune in terms of scaling and to really push yourself past the limits. So try to like play more Conqueror games when you do pick this champion. PT is a good rune on her, but it's pretty like it's just a very good early game rune. And it does scale a bit better, or not scale, but it is a lot better in mid game now, because you do get increased damage while your PTA, like while you're in combat. But either way, try out some Conquer. I think it's way too broke on her, and I've always ran Conquer on her from the beginning of time. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said earlier, like and subscribe. And if you want to see more Kindred content, let me know down in the comments below. And thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.